Yeah, Philly stand up. Welcome to the kingdom of the grinders and hustlers, where the pastor preach and the Muslims be covered up. The chinos and the poppies whip it up for a bunch of us, using bulletproof glass while serving their customers. City floors abundant with Dutches and rubbish, dirt bikes popping wheelies while their engines erupting. Breakers is on the side when them doors get to shutting. You gon' watch them go to work once they speakers is dumping. On the L riding through Kensington where the Ricans be living in, using fire hydrants when there ain't no way for them to swim. Boosters on the strip selling like it's a hobby. Side game gorgeous, but they Air Jordans is Aki. You can find me in the underground, rocking them stages in notable places, recognized by multiple faces. Down north, south, and west, uptown and the rest. Philly stay fly like the MEAGLE. Yes, so yes.
The home of the slow grind, where we all get into it in no time. Going hard in the field, the O-line winning cause we keep it real. That's no lie. I represent the home of the slow grind, where we all get into it in no time. Going hard in the field, the O-line winning cause we keep it real. That's no lie.
Yo, welcome to 215, lyrically the home of the ill. With crowd spaz if you false, representing the real. From south to southwest, West Philly to north, every day is a different hustle. From the Oyus to the Newports, early morning run-ins, OGs stacking cans again. Offer the homeless food, they turn it down to take your stash again. So much going on in our city, the tourists passing in. Flash mobs died, so schools never had to clash again. Rocky step statues, landmarks, the best zoos. The Eagles beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52. Sean Smith got the Roots co-sign, he winning too. All of the above, shutting down every interview. I'm telling you, it's in our physique, simply unique. Who got the whole world yelling out free meat? We never weak, through the pain we still rise up above. I'm happy to be from the city they call brotherly love. What's up?
The home of the slow grind, where we all get into it in no time. Going hard in the field, the O-line winning cause we keep it real. That's no lie. I represent the home of the slow grind, where we all get into it in no time. Going hard in the field, the O-line winning cause we keep it real. That's no lie, homie.
My city always getting televised, yeah, get real. Young and steady, whipping white, staying strapped with the steel. Squad cars should be y'all tour guys, y'all couldn't bear the minutes. Killers ready with them hammers, yeah, we got them real mechanics.
Yeah, real good with machinery, but it's a different scenery. Besides the violence, Philly be the place that people dream to be.
And you can easily become in love with the culture.
Just keep it authentic, see we could do without all the vultures cause they be drawn. Like these other cities who be singing John.
Acting like they made the slang after hearing me perform. We the winning team every time we go against the norm.
In the field heavy,
haters find it hard to keep the score.
Focus never slacking, we just stacking to build a rapport. City full of legends that's cemented on floors.
From the roots to state property, Will to Jill, Scott and Eve, top commodities. Homie, this is where you gotta be.
PHI-LLY, representing PHI-LLY, representing PHI-LLY, representing PHI-LLY, PHI-LLY, representing PHI-LLY, representing PHI-LLY, representing PHI-LLY.
Peace and infinite blessings, family. Welcome to, or I am, BMa'at. Welcome to BMa'at Inc., the show that was brought to you by BMa'at, of course, in Urban Shaman Productions. This is a platform that was created to connect you to the experts, legends, to share strategies and life lessons to empower, strengthen, and maintain the African family nucleus from a Pan-African perspective. Today's date is August 15th, right? Damn, it's going fast, man. We start every show with verbal libations to the hundreds of millions known and unknown, for those who struggle, sacrifice, and work for our benefit. We are the sum of your love, your efforts, and your support. On this time, we just take a few minutes to highlight some of the ones who personally help assist us on this mission towards knowledge itself. This show is dedicated to the spirit of Marcus Garvey. This is his month. The UNIA was founded this month. So many things. And also we to the energy, the spirit of Black August. We started out last week talking about Renuka Rashidi and some of the others who played a huge part on us being where we are today. And this is an opportunity to just give them a shout out. All right. Um, our guest is already here. So, brother DJ Reezy, as I know him, would you take a minute to first of all, would you take a minute to, if it's an honored ancestor that you would like to shout out, do that and give it just, a bio of works and stuff that you're doing.
My most uh, relevant two are my father and my grandfather. So that's Joseph Walker and Roy Williams.
Mm,
And
Ashe,
we say Ashe to them.
Ashe.
I am a DJ that goes by the name of DJ Reezy. My birth certificate, they named me Rashaun Williams. And I'm a community organizer as well as a public policy organizer for the rights of African Americans and Indigenous Americans so that they may seek justice for the crimes committed against their humanity. Me being a part of the day as well. Some of the work that I've done in and over the last decade is after school program directorship and public school education, summer camp program development, um, environmental sustainability organizing, um, social entrepreneurship development for millennials, so those between the ages of 18 and 35, supporting them in building businesses that provide positive impacts on people, the places that they're at, and using their profits to actually benefit people in the places that they are at. Uh, Sheesh. And to go into a little bit of my DJing, most, if not all, of my DJing is around community, culture, and creativity. I've been the official DJ for Philadelphia's youth poetry movement back in the early 2010s and or late 2010s, early 2000 2010s. Um, and the reason why I share that is because that birthed big a lot of the culture that we may see today in youth poetry, youth art, youth expression. And it really grounded me, as well as a series of other things that I've been a DJ for, really grounded me as a community oriented soundscape artist. So now most of my work and focus is on how do we make sure that the rights of African Americans and Indigenous Americans are protected, because we're the most ancient people on the planet, and we can't really go any further if we don't pay homage to those facts. And so here we are.
I say,
I
well said.
said,
I would not have done you justice.
thank you.
So I appreciate you having taken a little time to um, explain and express your social resume on why you are qualified to have this discussion, why we should pay attention to what it is that you're saying and follow suit. So, first question would be, what is, and let's start from the very basics.
Yep.
What is reparations? Why should we fight for reparations?
Yeah, reparations is the act of repair, making repairs to an injured party. In some war terminologies, reparations are paid by the loser of wars to those winners for their damages. And in other instances, reparations are paid and or provided to folks who have had an injury caused to them. And so in this particular case, we're having a discussion on, and I mean, the organization that I represent is the Philadelphia chapter of NCOBRA. That's the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. We're having a conversation around not just the transatlantic slave trade, but the various crimes against the humanity of Black Americans, stemming from the mass genocide, the international human trafficking, the Jim Crow era, and um, the war on drugs, the war on crime, education, or the miseducation of our people, redlining, gentrification, eugenics, and a series of other intentional laws and policies like black code, sharecropping, convict leasing, and more. Mass incarceration, psychological torment, cultural appropriation. These are all just some of the things that Black Americans have experienced. And when we look at international standards of repair, of redress, of crimes against humanity, of international human rights, not only do we find that the United States is completely at fault and completely liable, um, but it's actually suppressing our ability to advance as a species. The more we put the foot of the United States on the necks of Black people in the US and across the world, the less we can actually find new technologies, new innovations, new sciences, and new breakthroughs that actually expand human consciousness and grow our ability to actually create innovations that not only support all people, but support nature as well.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's a long laundry list of these. And we all know that we have experienced some of those things, right? But when you list them the way you did, it's like, damn, we are the miracles of the Ma'afa, bro. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it makes it even more of a profound statement. Are those things, all those egregious acts listed in the documents, or is that just something
Yeah.
you just
Completely. Yeah. I mean, I got them off top because I've been spending a lot of years
mhm,
just really being a nerd about these things. And I think that it's relevant and important to just read off a couple.
mhm,
Pseudoscientific subordination to civility, humanity, and society. So we're talking about scientists that have no basis in science, making us a subordinate group
mm,
in civilization, in humanity, and in society. And it's important to understand the difference between all three. Civilization, we're looking at civil rights, we're looking at municipal rights, government sanctioned rights. Humanity and human rights is us being treated or called as cattle or chattel. And then society is just the social standing of not being able to read or being taught to read, taught to write, those things. I already talked about international kidnapping and global human trafficking,
mm,
psychological torture, and corporal exploitation. It's important to know that when you tell a person that they are something that they're not, and then you actually physically beat them into it, then we
mm,
get into bondage, sadism, masochism, religious manipulation, spiritual duress, and iconoclasm. Iconoclasm is speaking to us being taught that our ancient practices, our religious studies, and all of the structures that we've built are actually demonic and satanic as opposed to angelic and divine. This is a pretty nice list of about 30 crimes committed against our humanity, which are just like completely factual and true. Environmental intoxication and degradation. When we look at brown zones, a lot of Black people live in what are called brown zones, which are toxic industrial environments that have been abandoned by companies, in which Black people were encouraged to move to, not just from the Great Migration of the South, but through redlining and gentrification.
mm.
Um, I could slap people around with this joint, with this list. Yeah.
Wow. Is that list accessible to the common folk, or is that just something that you have access to being in Cobra, or um
Well,
just
because we've written a bill,
mm,
and we would like for members of city council to sponsor the bill. The
mhm,
information is public. What I can do is I can share with folks that they can visit the website ncobraphl.org, and through that information, they should be able to search for through our tabs. And in one of the tabs is a, if I'm not mistaken, a petition. And when you click petition, there should be a Google Doc. I mean, or not a Google Doc, a survey.
Hmm.
Um, what I tried to keep it like very layman's terms
Right.
on the survey, but what I can do is I can put the full detailed description of the crimes against our humanity and the bill there. And folks can always email me at rwill@ncobraphl.org. That's R, the letter R, WILL at N Cobra as the serpent, PHL.org. Um, but yeah, this is all public.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, like hearing you speak at the event that we help organize. Like I said, it gives it substance. I mean, like we look at reparations and we look at it from a monetary standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we gonna get that check, man. We need that check. We need that check. But it's so much more to that. And I think the more information they get about the crimes that's been inflicted on them and the ancestors 7 generations down the line, it kind of makes it not so much of a more me perspective that we're actually doing it for the race. It goes from reparations for me to get the bag so I could go get some things, and it shifts the perspectives to say, you know what, this reparation is for the movement and for the advancement of our people, and it's for my children and my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? So I think it shifts. Like for me,
Yeah.
I knew reparations. I thought reparations was important. I'm not gonna say that I didn't think it was important. Um, but it was just like hearing that list makes me even more like, yo, we gotta get this shit done. Like whatever part I need to play in making this work and making this and making it go forward, I'm willing to do now. You know what I mean? It makes it more of a priority. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
get so caught up, we get so like I got children, I got a family, I have a business, I have a band, I have all these things that I'm doing, and it's like those things are great, right? And I have to develop a trust to where I know where my children's going to be and my grandchildren and all that stuff is going to be taken care of financially. So I'm in the beginning stages of that. So, but this is a great piece to add to that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
to add to that legacy of repair. You know what I'm saying? And so not only are we doing the internal reparations, which Dr. Claude Anderson talks about a lot,
Hmm.
um, as African Americans, we misspend $2 trillion a year.
Hmm.
And say, can you imagine if we shift the mindset to where we take that 2.5 that we misspending and put it into ourselves and create these industries to create these industries to where that money can stay in there a couple
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just
Well,
as soon as you get it and cash it out.
there was the Freedmen's Bank, and there's a few things that I actually want to say. There's one, the Freedmen's Bank. Two, the intentionality around creating disruptive systems and policies to
Hmm.
destroy Black infrastructure. And three is an actual policy agenda for Black America. So, one is that when the Emancipation Proclamation was drafted and ordained by U.S. government through Abraham Lincoln, I think a lot of stuff is a fable. By the way,
Hmm.
I'm gonna just
Right.
call it what it is. However, based on the colloquial history that we've been given, we got the Emancipation Proclamation, in which has a part of it, Special Order Number 15, which is supposed to provide freedmen, which are those folks that were enslaved and now free, housing, education, employment contracts, land, the 40 acres and a mule part, um, banking systems and banks, military courts, and so much more. And so not only were all of those things retracted um, after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated and the new president came in, or Ulysses Grant, I forget his name. Not only were those things retracted, but the monies accumulated in the Freedmen's Bank
Mm-hmm.
was stolen from those folk, stolen from the
Mm-hmm.
freedmen. And they tried to appoint Frederick Douglass as a chair or president to recoup some of the funds and regain the trust of the freedmen, but it wasn't possible and it was too far gone. No reparation or recompensement or insurance to have those funds returned existed for those folk. So that's one. Two is that we've had 23 major black towns and a series of
Mm-hmm.
black towns that we can't even name because they were allodial. They lived in an unincorporated status, not registered with the state because these were independent folk all across the United States. All many of which are, to our knowledge, don't exist anymore because of intentional destruction and degradation of those peoples and their ecosystems. And then last is folks are always talking about a black agenda, and then we always talk about how, and then you may hear politicians talk about how certain laws can't be created based on race. And the first point to the black agenda is that I don't believe we should think about a black agenda that doesn't have reparations as the foundation because it acknowledges the original sin to our people in the United States. And the more we do without speaking to reparations, the more we're trying to put a band aid on a wound that we need to treat first. And so, looking at forms of repair need to be the priority and primary political agenda for Black folks, which means more than money. It means repair. It means repairing all of our systems. And two, when you have things like black codes and convict leasing and the Negro Act of 17, well, I believe 91, but the Negro Acts uh, enforced in the United States, then it's no way that you can say we can't make laws based on race because these are laws that were based on race.
Based on race.
Um, and not even talking about the Asian hate crime and laws that were made for the LGBTQ community and laws that are made for Jewish Americans and Jewish people all across the world. Those facts contradict the notion that politicians will give to say that we cannot make laws based on specific racial and ethnic groups. So I just wanted to provide this in context just so that we know that those things are not only not true, but one of the things that we should be focused on as a people is reparations as a political foundation for a Black agenda.
I like that. Well said. Well said. So this is a movement for the African Americans only.
So we've got the transatlantic slave trade, and then you have all the parties that were involved and were participants, and then you have the specific parties that North Americans, particularly those that are in the jurisdiction and jurisprudence of the United States, whom they may need to seek repair from. And so what we do in the Philadelphia chapter of Cobra is kind of identify Negro Americans and colored Americans based on census records and tracts. What we also do in the international perspective is trace the transatlantic slave trade to understand our people's relationship with Jamaica, Haiti, and other parts of the American Black diaspora so that one of a few things can happen. One, folks in the US, They need to put that pressure on the U.S. Black folk in the U.S. need to put that pressure on the U.S. Jamaicans need to put that pressure on Britain and England. Cuba need to put that pressure on France. Then we need to come together and put the pressure on all of the bodies that be, including the Vatican and the Roman Catholic Church, which all of this is possible because of the doctrine of discovery, which was from the Vatican, giving colonists and explorers the quote unquote right to explore any land where folks were not Catholicized, enslaving them and or performing genocide against them. That was since 1492. And so with these things being true, it is up to us as Black folks in the United States to put the pressure on states in the United States and the federal government, all of those other individuals that I mentioned, to put pressure on their colonizing bodies and those colonizing parties, and then for us to come together for a unified case against all of the folks responsible for the transatlantic slave trade and these crimes against our humanity.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I told you. I saw you when I heard you speak on it, and it was like maybe a 10, 15 minute, 20-minute speech. And I was like, yo, I need to link up with this brother. I need to, do my part, do more of my part on how to get the word out and get this information out there to where we can put some more numbers behind the movement. Because it's been around. How long Cobra has been doing this?
Woo! 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still not like common. I mean, it's not like common knowledge.
Yeah, I'm like the youngest bull.
Yeah.
In Cobra.
Yeah.
And I mean, quite frankly, which is very important, a lot of folks that are in the reparations movement now who are making a lot of leeway in the social sectors and political spaces are not Pan-Africans. And they're not Pan-Africans for three legitimate reasons. One, they culturally and ethnically identify as Americans just because of the circumstance and knowledge base that has been accumulated over time and practices culturally and socially over time, which is completely valid and respected by me. Two is that to call them African in some instances and senses take them away from their rights as Americans because they're on American land. And so it would be hard for them to have a case legally to say that they are the birthright inheritors of some of the rights that are retained to them in America, which I respect as well. And then three is that they don't necessarily have a relationship to Africans in the diaspora actually fighting for them, and don't necessarily know how they're able to fight for Africans before fighting for themselves here in America. I'm only sharing that because, and Cobra is a Pan-African organization that has made reparations a household name for 30 years. And so my work as a young man representing this Philadelphia chapter is to accept many of these evolutions and understand what makes sense at law. I think that a lot of folks get caught up in these social identifiers for the validation of their own identity as we've been moving through these crimes against our humanity without actually addressing the fact that our descendants on paper come from Negro and colored Americans. I think that once we can actually have some settled and comprehensive dialogue to understand the paper track and to understand that regardless of whether your ancestors may have been indigenous on this land or trafficked through the slave trade from Africa or from parts of Brazil, Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Jamaica, and or Canada, the fact of the matter is that Black Americans have created a brand new ethnic standing in the world. We are a brand new group of people that can't even be identified as anything other than what we come together to create. And that doesn't really seem to be too challenging when I break that down to folks. But it's all about us doing the proper outreach so that we can have this conversation and then create our peoplehood from these understandings. So, and Cobra's been around for a while, 30 plus years, Pan African organization. And with my leadership here in the Philadelphia chapter, I'm accepting everybody. And as you know, I said before, I'm not going to say what I said when I said it,
Right.
but you know, you got to love Black folks, African Americans, and the American Negro in order
Yeah.
for you to do this work.
Yeah. Yeah. And love yourself too, man. Like just
Yeah,
yeah, that's key.
that's the major one.
So my next question. All right, so I need fundamental reads. Like you spitting this information out, you spitting everything that you're spitting out. What would be some great fundamental reads for me, not to get to where you are, but to at
Mhm.
least get me on track to, I guess, get there, and to be more informed. Because you want to talk to people. Me, I'm gonna say this. It always works best for me if I'm confident and sure about the information that I'm um, giving.
Yes,
You know what I'm
sir.
saying? Like, I don't want to be just like, all right, I read this today. Here we go, and I'm spitting it, and then somebody hit me with a question like, "Oh yeah, where'd you get that from?" You like, oh,
Yeah,
I got it from this place here, and it's like, is that a valuable resource? And it's like,
right.
did you cross reference that? And it totally breaks down your argument, totally breaks down. And now you're not sure if you want to do it anymore. You're not sure. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff happens because you're not a student, and so I'm constantly a student. And for me to build up the confidence that I need to just to put people on. Of course, I'm gonna put them towards you, direct them to you. But I also want to be able to at least have a formal conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be, you know what I mean? So yeah. So what would be some fundamental readings just to get me started and get me to build up my confidence?
I would say that Dr. Claude Anderson is one. Just anything that he's written
Okay.
would be a great read. Um, and there's a book called The Debt that I was informed about. Um, and I'm going to try to figure out whom that artist is. Yes, this is Randall Robinson. Randall
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. 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 Because I heard that book before too.
oh. And then I'm a shoot straight from the hip and let folks know that there's articles and content written on Encobra PHL's website
Okay.
that dive deep into uh, reparations. So
Okay.
most recently, Black-led philanthropy and reparative capital for humanities, education, and economic mobility. There's an article published there. Philadelphia slavery disclosure law information is published there. Information about Juneteenth is published there. Um, Information about the race riots in the Buffalo Massacre and how that particular terrorist wrote that these are your reparations on the rifle
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, I've seen it.
that he
Yeah.
killed Black folks with is there. So I would say that those are three things that folks could start with. The Debt by Randall Robinson, any book from Dr. Claude Anderson, and any of the articles and the tabs that are found on the Encobra PHL website.
So, so I guess that answers the next question because it's just like what steps, and I guess that would be the first step is to get in contact with you and just start reading some of the material that's already on Encobra's website and make sure and see if this is for you or not. I know this is for me. I have children. And so I want that to be part of my legacy that not only was I was a grassroots or grass root organizer that also affect policies
Mm,
that move our people forward. And
mm,
so I think that would be a great legacy to leave. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Because each day we're building a legacy. You know what I mean? Each day,
Yeah.
whether whatever decisions we make, we're building a legacy. And I always desire my legacy to be a one of empowerment, one of love, especially for Black and African people, especially
Mm-hmm.
um, and for humanity. Of course, humanity, but
Oh yeah, but we
we
black.
need we need we need love more than anybody else on this planet,
You know,
and we need compassion. Hmm.
one of the things that you said or asked is whether or not we may have reparations in our lifetime, and I just wanted to say that there are at least 14 places that have established reparations bills. Um, and I just want to read them off to you because it's going to give context to how real this is. I'm not just a philosopher
Right.
who's talking about what I think on the subject matter. We got the state of California, the city of Evanston, Illinois, the state of Maryland, city of Boston, Massachusetts, Amherst, Massachusetts, city of Detroit. They're actively recruiting for members to be a part of a reparations task force and support their studies.
Mm.
The state of New Jersey just recently passed a reparations task force. Durham, North Carolina, High Point, North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina. These are three different places in North Carolina. Um, State of Vermont and the state of Virginia. Virginia is providing scholarship programs for Black Americans to participate in universities. And the city of Providence, Rhode Island. I've been speaking with those folks at least monthly in
Mm.
seminars to talk about some of their successes and how there's an Amherst reparations fund that philanthropists are really supporting. I mean, this reparations thing is real. Some folks have actually gotten their land back after
Mm.
some of these studies have been commissioned to find how Black folks have been having their economic mobility restricted. Um, and it's not just happening in our lifetime, but it's actually requiring us to be the thought leaders, experts, program designers, proposal developers, and policy enforcers. It's not just, which is very important, and this is how folks can get involved. It's not just there being a group of intellectual Black bourgeoisie coming up with what actually needs to be enforced with and administered to Black folks. It's actually Black folks coming together to say what they believe their repair is and should be. And
Mm.
so we have bi-weekly seminars at a community center in which folks can find out via my email address and on our platforms how to participate, where we're asking folks to take their life experiences and develop a system and series of best practices that worked for them. What are the things that worked for you that make you healthier and stronger in your spirit, mental, and emotional lives? From that, we need to create not just programs, but policies based on the things that have worked for us as a Black community. And that is going to be a part of the bill amendments that we are seeking to have city council members sponsor. And so that's how folks can get involved, and that's why folks should get involved. It exists. There's blueprints all over the U.S., and we need to be responsible for making sure the world knows that we are aware that we know what we want and we're able to provide ourselves with what we want. If folks get out of the way, number one, and two, give back what was taken from us.
Mm.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So it's reparations in real time.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, it's like, it's still diapers on the baby. It
Hmm.
ain't boxers yet.
Right.
It ain't boxers and it ain't lingerie.
Right.
So, you know, it's still in that infancy stage, and it is going to require extreme discernment. What I said at the seminar, or one of our, what I said at a seminar about 4 weeks ago was like, yo, this is rocket science. I'm not gonna act like it ain't rocket science. This is gonna
Right.
take extreme intellectual navigation and a lot of expertise, just as much as it's going to take your average Joe to really talk about everyday living and us to put together something amazing that's going to provide us with the necessary redress we need.
Mm.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Pull up, man. Listen,
That's
pull
dope.
up.
That's dope. Um, Now, is it like because you know me, and I know you have a lot going on as well. How much time commitment is like? What is the time commitment like?
I want folks to I want folks to provide what they feel like they want to provide. To me, this is a
Okay.
full-time job. It just don't pay.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's a full-time job that just don't pay. However, I would say that we need to look at ourselves as diplomats and ambassadors for our people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a deep passion or conviction around our people, then you would see this as something, depending on how your lifestyle is, you would see this as something that you just carry with you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a musician,
Mm-hmm.
you're a polymath, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
If you're familiar with the term, that means you know how to operate more than one thing at a time in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And being a drummer, I'm sure sometimes you've had to drum and speak to somebody at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means you understand polyrhythms.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that you were an and or are an educator.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are some of the things that in your everyday life, while you're moving through life, you could be saying, we should be making sure that elementary school children learn this. We should be making sure that when we're teaching music, we're teaching specific South African rhythms, or we're teaching that in relation to the Zulu language, in relation to Shaka Zulu, da 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 da. There are things that we can do in our everyday lives just by being who we are and loving who we are.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a full time job, but you don't take a break on being black. So,
Right.
in the same way, you don't take a break on being black, this is an opportunity where all of your everyday experiences can inspire you to just go home, maybe write some things down. And then every other week, you say, hey, last week I was thinking about these things. I want to give them to you. And maybe you can systematize them. Maybe you can develop a program from them. And then you can give it back to me. I can proofread it. I can edit it, make it gold. And then we can propose it as a policy. And so I really don't want folks to feel like it's too much work. I want them to
Right.
be in more of a happy, jovial, and creative space, because oftentimes we look at Black freedom and liberation from such an angry and violent space that
Mm-hmm.
actually doesn't even provide the chemical balance for you to be innovative and
Mm-hmm.
practical. And
Mm-hmm.
so if doing it from a place of joy, imagination, love, happiness, and your everyday life, you'll actually see how much beauty there is in your own mind's ability to create opportunity. And then we can put that pen to paper, make it happen,
And you do more.
and do way more.
And you do way more with less time because you don't look at it as a duty or um, an extra job, or I mean, you're not looking at it from that space. You're looking at a space of love. And say, I think Che Carrera said that, revolutionary, uh, um, revolution is love, and a lot of people, I ain't gonna say a lot of people, but we have individuals. Well, I ain't gonna talk about that. I'm just gonna speak from
I'm
my
right with
space. I'm gonna speak from my space. My space is that warriorships. It's multiple levels to warriorships. There's, when you talk about military, when you talk about going to war and you talk about the military, there's different parts that everybody has to play to make it effective. You have to have a strategist, right? You have the person that put the strategy. You have the person that makes the weapons. You have I mean, so you have all these other elements that goes into having an effective warrior, because he just can't be the warrior just knowing his thing himself. You have the elder to provide oh, listen, I was a warrior. These are the methods and the strategies that I use. And then you have the weapon expert, like, all right, listen, this dagger or this shield or this gun works better if you do it this. I mean, so everybody can't be the alpha warrior. You know what I'm saying? And and I accepted that a long time ago. And you get clowned for it, in certain movements, because all men are supposed to be the alpha man, the alpha male, supposed to be the alpha warrior. You're supposed to be willing to go out there and just put your life on the line.
Yeah, I mean that energy is
And
that. I mean, and it's no. I'm gonna just let folk know. I mean, I'm not afraid to have this type of conversation
right.
specifically for these types of folks. Not only is the energy gay, is actually anti who we are, because
Mm,
Alpha, Omega, Sigma, that's Greeks. That's Greek.
mm,
And the Greeks hated their women. The
mm,
Greeks
mm,
actually had structures and societies where they were overcompensating because of how much of a hatred that they had for their women. The island of Lesbos is where we
mm,
get the word lesbian,
mm,
because of how many women were kicked out of Greece. I'm just saying this because a lot of Black people and Pan Africans adopt these ideologies that we need to be hyper tough and super tough based on this, like this Spartan like energy, which
mm,
is actually a psychological invert of what they really think it is. And if folks
mm.
understood that, then they would actually not only be softer and kinder and more patient, but understand the root of where some of this energy is from, and know that it's completely counterintuitive to what they think and or say they truly believe. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted
No,
to
that's great.
provide that perspective because
That's a great point. That's a great point. And that's some of the conversations we haven't been having as of late. Um, I'm part of this program, Coma Kings by Macho Adu from the Coma House Initiative, and we just had this warriorship training. And I asked him that. I asked him about the whole alpha male, because it's like I'm always open to learning. Like I'm always open to the possibilities of whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not just this locked in. This is my perspective, and that's it. I mean, like this might be my perspective, but I'm open to conversations to learn more or to be better or whatever. I have 5 girls that I'm living with, so it's just like I need to uh, be more for them. You know what I'm saying? And so um, be more receptive to the things they need. Um, because they mom right now, she's doing her. And so
Mhm.
I am the primary caretaker for the girls. And so for my 2 girls, but I have um, sisters and girlfriends, and they always have sleepovers at my house and stuff like that. And so, I'm trying to understand. My father wasn't there, so I'm trying to understand all these things about manhood, and as for me, it's trial and error. I didn't have um, that role model to where I can just sit there and watch my dad and interact with my mom and all these things. I didn't have that. My mom was a single parent, and so all the things that I've been learning about manhood since I was a boy is through trial and error and just in the streets and watching TV or whatever the case may be, wherever I could grab it from. And
Mhm.
so just I'm just open to all possibilities, and I just was trying to understand: am I doing it the wrong way? Am I supposed to be this, you know, drag them down, knock out?
Right.
Yeah, I
Right. Right.
mean, like, and
Yeah, I
and
just
then
want
you
to
got.
go
Mhm.
ahead. Go ahead.
Right. Now I just want to know because like some of my elders um displayed to me said to me that you're too nice to women and that you need to be more assertive, you need to be more aggressive, and I'm
No,
just
that's
like,
that's what I'm saying. Like these,
yeah,
look, that's gay.
yeah,
That's like, and I'm saying that in the sense of like, what do you mean too nice to women?
yeah, yeah,
That's like you sound like somebody that would kick women off of the island.
yeah,
That's what you sound
yeah,
like. You
yeah,
know, and I want folks to understand the context by which I'm speaking,
mm,
because you know
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
I just want you to
Yeah.
understand the context about which I'm speaking. Like
Yeah.
that's actually what it is. Because we know
Yeah.
these folk. You and I
Yeah.
know these folks. So
Yeah.
for those that don't know, you know what I'm saying, me and Farugh, we about to have a moment right now. We know these folks. That's not cool because
Yeah.
if we're looking at our ancient selves, we like the harmonious nature of man, woman, and child.
We need that.
We need that.
Yeah.
There are certain things that you just are unable to provide to your daughters because
Yeah.
of the nature and circumstance of you being a man, a male, and in this society.
Yeah.
And so
Facts.
that's one part that to that I want to say. And the other is that um, a lot of these folk can't even run around the block without losing their breath.
Right.
A lot of these folk don't even know how to cook.
Right.
A lot of these folk don't know um, uh, kale from they don't kale from weeds in
Right.
the garden.
Right.
A lot of these folk they don't know how to do the basic practical things that would make them a warrior, other than articulate from a place of testosterone energy and anger, other than creating curriculum and programs that continue to validate what they think we should be doing as a people without having the fundamentals to do it as a people.
Mm.
A lot of folk don't even have the patience to explain themselves to folk that don't have the intellectual capability to get what they're saying so that they can recruit more warriors into their work. So I say that to
Mm.
say, no matter
Mm.
how genuine, kind, patient, artistic, and creative, expressive, even if you are gay, no matter who you are, bring who you are into this work and don't let anybody tell you that it's not good enough. It just don't make sense, especially like if you black and you love black people and you love blackness, the work requires that we express our black love without it being bastardized and beaten by Eurocentric Greek and Roman philosophies and ways to approach your liberation.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, that's a bonus. Like I didn't, I came to you about the reparation piece, but this all this stuff is interrelated. Yeah, I mean, like we are we are spiritual beings first and foremost, right? But we are chosen to be African men for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that all plays a part in everything that we're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like one elder told me, we don't have a soldier to waste.
Mm,
And I think that's a profound statement because it's just like we need everybody on board. You know what I mean? Like
mm.
whether you gay, whether you whatever the case may be, there's room for you in the liberation of our um uh,
Well, I can hear you. I
yeah,
can't see you, but I can hear
yeah.
you.
So it's room. We have room for liberation for our people. There's room. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah,
I I can't tell nobody. I'm not in a position to say that your shit is not good enough to work with me. Like what kind? Like
you, you know, um, it's like this is some of the same conversation that I want to have with around the multiple different nationalities or in ethnic variations of blackness participate in a global reparations movement and a hyper local and domestic reparations movement. Um, and I just want to add some more context into the conversation. So when we're talking about those that are in our personal inner circles, I think that it's important to know that there has been a direct corruption of what we say divine masculine energy.
mm,
And with that direct corruption of divine masculine energy, we have it on two sides. We have it on the side of men actually hating women or not liking women or not liking soft traits about people and or men. And then we have it on the side of men adopting societal principles and practices that take them away from being warriors for our people. And it's interesting how both are the same, but they live on two completely different sides of the same coin. I think that in this conversation that we're having, it is best for us to not only just reject the violent energy and the disegregious energy, but welcome folks who want to do the work regardless of how they feel and where they are, because there's room and opportunity for them to do something that is better than nothing.
Right.
We might lose a lot of friends, you know. We might lose a lot of folks that may have had resources and or opportunities for us to do whatever we was doing, but that's not the direction that we're trying or seeking to go anyway. That's one. Two is that because most of these conversations are had in a broader context, we need to have more spaces where we can speak to each other about how we feel and how we made each other feel, and keep the work at the root of what it is that we're doing. And that's particularly challenging and difficult too.
Did you see that?
I seen that. I seen that. And I'm gonna say, like, these are conversations that I have with not just Pan-Africans, not just folk that identify as Indigenous Americans, not just members of the LGBT community, but all of those folks at the same time.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
For real. It's like you can't be my friend if you can't be my man's friend. Like,
right.
My man's is gay, but he put in more work than all y'all put together.
Right.
You can't say nothing to me that you can't say with my lady around, because my lady are the same. We won.
Right.
Like, we live on that. So don't think that you could talk to me like on some boys club energy, because I don't have that. Talk to me like my woman is with me at all times.
Right.
That's
because she is.
Certain people don't live on that code.
Right.
The code, the things I just laid out, certain people don't live on.
Right.
There's nothing I'm gonna say here that I'm not gonna say. Like, this is public. I know this is gonna be shared. I stand by everything I said.
That's right.
You know, so people can holler at me, and I'm gonna give you the spark notes and the and the primary resource and the primary sources to everything I'm saying. You know, but all of that to say that at the end of the day, I still welcome folks that may have this disegregious energy, because we all need repair.
Right.
And that's the true work of the warrior. If you really want to slice it and dice it, like, we all need repair. So folks that do have this energy, it's like, yo, you just give them a little bit of time, just give them a break. You do what you got to do. And if they come around, hopefully you got some hydration, because they was running on a treadmill that they didn't need to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was, and that's what I was trying to tell individuals, like, not because I'm not disagreeing with that energy. I know it's necessary. You know what I'm saying? I know it's a necessary component, because everybody is not on that space. Like, I was in, like, I'll be 49 this year. So I had the moments where I hated people and I hated things, but I'm not there no more, because I have evolved. I mean, like, it's like some people get stuck there, and it's like, I get it. You're speaking for the pain, you're speaking for the hurt of the ancestors, you're speaking. I understand, I hear that, but there's, I mean, it's like, and I love when you said, like, they have the ability to articulate what it is that your message on all levels. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's, to me, that's leadership. To me, that's leadership. I mean, it's like, you can't go into a classroom of preschoolers, talk about Pan-Africanism, talking with that angry energy. They don't understand what the hell you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? But if you come in, you have to be able to, like, if you say if you can't explain it to a fourth grader, then you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, You have to have the ability. I ain't say you have to for your the work
Oh,
to
no,
be
no, no, no.
as fruitful
If you
for your
if you
if
gonna
your
talk that shit, you need
right.
you have to. If you gonna talk that shit that you talking about,
Yeah,
the way that they be talking, no,
yeah,
you gotta have it.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. For your mission to be fruitful, you have to. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I really appreciate this conversation. And yes, this is part of the whole reparation because it's healing. Reparation is restoration. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not healing yourself, if you're not healing, you can't teach healing to anybody else. You can't share healing with anybody else unless you're healing. And this is part of the healing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm actually
Yeah.
gonna ask you now if you're willing to do like a part two of this conversation because it was certain things that I wanted to get to, but we didn't. But this is spiritually ordained that we need to have this conversation. I always say that we have to leave room for spirit to do its thing. Yeah, I mean, this was
Yeah.
necessary. This. I needed this to keep moving forward. Because yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm open. I'm open to all possibilities, and sometimes being too open can cause you to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so that's something that I'm really working on to have these principles and stand firmly on these principles. I'm so willing to, because I know, just looking at, just dealing with our people and knowing that the things that they've been through and knowing the hurt, you tend to have, I have a tendency of looking at them through my ancestors' eyes
Mm.
with a level of compassion and just be like, just willing to get along, willing to go along, willing to provide them the space to heal, and
Mm.
I'll be the assistance in that healing. Because I always reflect back to Malcolm X, right?
Right.
Before he became Malcolm X, he was Detroit Red,
Yep.
and people was just like, "This dude is the terror. He is the
Yep.
worst of the worst. You need to kill him."
Malik
And
Al-Shabazz was the most dangerous.
that part, that part. Yeah, I mean, so those stages of evolution, like I don't know what stage of evolution that these people are, but am I going to crucify them in the midst of them becoming their greater selves?
No, no, no.
Yeah, I mean, and so I have that compassion to where I'm just like I'm just not willing to damn people in the middle of their process.
Yeah, and I absolutely do not feel that we should damn people in the middle of their process either. I want to say that yes, we can continue this conversation, and I want to share that it's particularly important for us to know that there are three forms of liberation that we can approach, and I'm sharing this because they all require work. There is an independent agreement of filing your status of being a national in the American Republic and operating your business and your affairs in that way that folks can do.
Mhm.
There is class action lawsuit types approaches that actually force government to meet in courts and or tribunals to address the crimes committed against your humanity. That's number two. And then there's number three, going the public policy route. And a lot of folks want to be quote unquote into a Moorish principle. A lot of folks want to be on a quote unquote sovereign citizen principle. A lot of folks want to be on a politically correct public policy safe principle. All these different approaches individuals can take, but at the end of the day, it's still going to require that our children who still live in the hood,
Mm.
you feel me? They're gonna go,
Mhm.
or they're probably gonna go to the same public school.
Right, right.
Us getting on the bus to go from point, it's still going to require harmonious, cohesive communication, dialogue, and work together. And so, regardless of where folks are, if we're not able to actually sit down and say, these are the elements of biochemistry we need to teach, These are the
Mm,
elements of permaculture, agriculture, and horticulture that we need to teach. These are the elements of zoology that we need to teach. These are the rites of passages that women need to go through when honoring the parts of puberty that are going to affect how they hormonally see things in the world.
mm,
Same thing for boys. These are the things that we're going to, as a foundation, which don't take you into any pedagogy or, as my friend likes to say, dogma around what you personally or spiritually believe. It's just like, no, when this happens, this happens. Therefore, these are the best pads for you, baby boo.
mm.
Therefore, young man, this is how you deal with that thing that's going on down there. You don't know what's going. This is how you breathe yourself through that.
Right.
This is how you think. This is how you gather your mind together. If we can't agree to handle those basic things and principles that are truths in our lives, then we may need to take some time to get whatever we're going through together before we can come together and really work on that. But for those of us who can, there's a lot of work for us to do. So, in short, yes, I'll certainly be here again. And to all those that are listening, if you black, you are absolutely welcome to participate in these discussions, no matter what kind of black you are, as long as you love black people and yourself.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, um, all right. So I know there's are there a list of demands in the reparation bill, or is it just like if people was to look at the reparation bill, what would they say?
Yeah, you would see a need for the development of depositories, bureaus, institutions, and that's said departments, bureaus, institutes, and sheesh, what's that other word? Because that's an important word. Um, and I'm articulating these words because we need to have this knowledge in our
Yeah.
mind. Um, anyway, I'm not going to waste time finding it and
Mhm.
stop myself from speaking. We need these things because we need to have administrative oversight of our own affairs, actions, and activities. And so, with Philadelphia being 44% black, and most of the legislative body being black in Philadelphia, it kind of shows that there is capacity for black independence in the Philadelphia County. It shows that. The only things that we would really need is to make sure that our folks are sitting at the helm of government to make sure that our people are getting what they deserve. For example, Philadelphia has a slavery disclosure law that was passed in 2005 and has had zero enforcement since it has been passed.
Mm,
And so, with something like that existing, we would need our people to not only administer the enforcement and oversee the enforcement of this law, but those financial institutions are supposed to provide reparations finance programs. And they're supposed to finance those programs in addition to making amends for predatory loan practices and a series of other things.
wow.
We actually need to be responsible for not only receiving those monies in the depositories that they're supposed to go to, but making sure that our people get that reparative capital. And so in this bill, we're actually seeking for and pretty much commanding that we are in charge of not only these affairs, but the administration of these affairs. And it requires us to actually sit in the municipal services building. And if you got to split the office up, not literally, but if you got to
Mhm.
split the office up, you got to split the office up.
Right.
When we talking about black folks getting water, gas, and electricity, we need to make sure that black folks are looking at how black folks are getting gas, water, and electricity.
Right.
So even when we look at, public services that are supposed to be given to black folks, these are some of the things that this bill actually articulates that we need to be in command of in order for it to be true reparations and reparative justice.
Mm. All right. And so now I'm assuming that's like the beginning stages of I guess of the demands.
Yeah, we could get into, and I make sure that I give space and grace for our beliefs. I
Hmm.
ain't trying to go to no white man college. I'm just not.
Right. Right.
So I ain't into the whole free tuition situation because you fuck them. Excuse me. I just cannot. I can't do it. I can't go to school. People telling me that I'm not who I am. I'm just not able
Right.
to do that. For example, society, Socrates,
Hmm.
Homo sapien, Homer.
Hmm.
I'm not doing that. I'm not
Right.
going down the laundry list of all the ways we've been taught to think, and it's based on somebody who hated my people.
Right. Right.
Hated my people. You're not about to do that to me. So, what about completely looking at college and university systems and structures differently? What about looking at HBCUs completely differently? What about creating new instruments and securities and financial systems of monetary and economic exchange that
Hmm.
might not be Black Americans utilizing the United States dollar? If we
Hmm.
really wanted to get down
Right.
to different
Right.
forms of credit systems, that like all these different ways that we could have commerce, commercial exchange, business, this bill actually gives us more room to create than have things be created for us.
Nice. Nice. And it's funny because when you said that, the first thing that popped in my head uh, was like the lottery system. I mean, it was just like how we had, back in the day, we was running numbers and things like that, and we was getting to the community, and we had the number runners and things like that, and they
Yeah.
just took that system, shut that system down, and then made a lottery system based off of it. Yeah, I mean, it's just like when they wasn't willing to feed our people and things like that, and the Black Panther Party was all right, we're gonna start a breakfast program. Yeah, I mean, it's like, all right, we're gonna shut that down, and then we're gonna give y'all free junk for breakfast in schools. I mean, it's just like it's just we have the capacity of creating systems, the self-sustaining systems, but it's always that outside resources that really like, oh, let's shut
I
it
really,
down.
mhm.
Yeah.
I really like these ciphers because, like, I know I sound like I'm going off the deep end when I say some stuff,
Hmm.
and I know that when you bring the fact that we started the women's, infants, and children's program,
Yes.
when we started the lottery system, so
Yeah.
me saying something like we probably don't even need money.
Right.
Me saying something like that is like, what? But then when you get down to you get down
Yeah.
to like Tulsa, Oklahoma, like,
Yeah.
was it really money
Yeah.
or was it really cooperative economics?
That's what it was. The bartering system.
Was it really like understanding how to utilize mineral resources and saying, well, this amount of metal will allow all of us to drink, and if we can all drink, then we can all like.
Yeah.
Was it really us using our indigenous and ancient minds to like? That's where I'm at with it. So
Yeah.
I make sure that the language allows anyone to orient themselves in the work, regardless of how much of that knowledge they accept and or utilize.
Yeah.
I
And that's the
think
thing.
that's important.
Yeah, and it helps to have that safe space to be able to have those conversations. You know what I'm saying? It's like what we talking about having our own land space. That's important because it's like we are now in a space to where what made Africa the powerhouse that it was the fact that they had safe space to just be.
Mm,
And all these things, all these inventions, all these things just came out because they was just in a creative space of being. The food grew off the tree. You have some food you eat, and you just sit there and you like, all right, sit in front of the ocean. Write down some Jones. Oh, I wonder what's going on in the stars. Yeah, I
mm,
mean, like they didn't need a telescope, but yet they mapped out. Those guys mapped out the whole system
mhm.
without a telescope because they were just in that creative, safe space to just be. And in society, we don't have that, and so we're constantly fighting. We constantly um, um, in this what they call it, the wheel that the gerbils be running in.
Yeah,
We
the hamster.
constantly, yeah, we in that can constantly in that hamster wheel, and just we're hit with distractions, and we just going, and so we don't have we lack that creative space to just be and innovate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to add to what I've been saying about Greece and Rome and that way of thinking, because it is what it is. We can't act that it just is what it is. Um, we get taught that our spiritual orientation to knowledge is pseudoscience,
Mm-hmm.
and we get taught that our trust of spirit and intuition is not us communicating with the Most High
Mm.
or the Most High communicating through us. We get taught that. And so, even if we are to look at schools and university systems, some schools may actually dive deeper into metaphysics and cosmology than others,
Mm-hmm.
based on how much of an ancient and or indigenous principle of knowledge and teaching they want to give or provide. Now, I don't really use this to I don't go anywhere into I mean we know each other. So it's
Right.
different. Like, and it ain't like we know each other crazy, but we know each other. And so we obviously share a comedic ma'at based understanding of
Mm-hmm.
or lens on the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in having that, we can have this conversation. But if
Right.
I were to speak to academics or some academics, and if I were to speak to attorneys, or if I were to
Mm-hmm.
speak to physicians who have gotten their MD from any university, they're gonna call me a hotep.
Yeah.
Like that's a bad thing. Like
Yeah.
Imhotep ain't that nigga.
Right.
You know, they're gonna tell me that I'm a pseudoscientist. They're gonna tell me that I'm one of those
Yeah.
folk that is gonna take things off the deep end. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then if we look at medicine and we look at,
Mm.
you know, if we look at anything and we look at it
Mm-hmm.
from an ancient and or indigenous perspective, everything that Romans and Greeks have done who are responsible for you taking a Hippocratic oath
Mm-hmm.
to be a hypocrite,
Mm-hmm.
Hippocrates, is the opposite of who we are and where we are from.
Mm-hmm.
Like us utilizing herbs and us having food be thy medicine
Mm-hmm.
versus like they would do stuff like give you concussions, like the way that they practice medicine.
Yes.
And then there's this like gaslighting approach to telling you that your indigenous and ancient practice isn't based on science
Mm-hmm.
for them to then adopt it while still adding their destructive systems to it, but remove you from being an original author to some of its contributions to the point where we think all of our scientific breakthroughs are yo.
Yeah.
And so I'm only
And
saying that we could go deep. We could go deep, but I don't typically like to because I
right.
don't like to hurt people. If you listening to this, that's on you. You could hit me up. But I don't want to damage people's egos,
Right.
and I can actually work through it because I'm more interested in getting the work done.
Right.
And there are extreme benefits to folks being disciplined enough to go through any school of thought and come out as a practicing professional.
Right.
For us to actually put in work when you love black people and you love yourself. I don't really care. If you love black people and you love yourself, I'm ready to work with you on whatever. But
Right.
sharing this to say that I'm not even able to go this deep and I don't go this deep because one, it gets into too much philosophy and what you believe in. And two,
Mm-hmm.
it's too much ego involved. As long as
Yeah.
we can focus on the work and get the work done because you love black people and you love yourself, that's where I'm gonna meet you.
Yeah. Yeah. Meet the people where they are. And if you choose to go further with me, then that's an open invite. I don't know if you like where we're gonna go, but
Mm.
I'm definitely open to have that conversation. And that's like, and as you talk, it's amazing how the origins of all their medicines comes from a plant base. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it comes from a herb base. It just they concoct it in a way to where you just get a little bit of it with amongst all this other stuff, and you're able to manage your illness when you take the actual herb, you reverse, get rid of the illness, but they give you just enough so you can manage the illness and keep coming back. That's
They're treating it. They're treating it, and you're a patient.
and you wonder why it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Hey, look, man. I I don't have time for the. I don't have time. I just don't have time. It's so many more things that
Yeah,
I'm able to share,
yeah.
and this is all when we talk about reparations and repair. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of our deep discussion and discernment is going to go to how we look at medical practices.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look at what things we feel like do and do not make sense and the andragogy of it, not just the pedagogy, but the andragogy of what things do and don't make sense as far
Mm-hmm.
as how what science means and what spirituality means and what utilizing nature and natural systems mean. These are the types of conversations that we're going to have when talking about quote unquote treating illnesses or curing diseases. They ain't the
Mm-hmm.
same things. To treat
Right,
an illness and cure a
right,
disease is not the same thing.
right.
So I'm more interested in having all of the folks that have these various schools of thought come together so that they can say, well, yeah, that may be true, but like we just need to have this cipher and exchange so that we can get to these answers for our people, from our people.
That's it. All right, so we gonna definitely work on. Like I said, this was a unexpected pleasure and treat. I didn't know we was gonna get into um, that part of the discussion, but I'm grateful.
I
I
don't
am
like to talk.
grateful.
I don't like to talk. I like to work. So I'm only here to let folks know how they can get involved with the work.
Right.
I don't mind talking. Let's talk. However, let's make sure that our conversation is inspiring, encouraging, mobilizing, and educating folk to joining us in these rooms so that we can develop these programs, push these policies, and make sure we're doing it for the youngest.
Ashe. Ashe. All right, so family, we're coming to the conclusion of this episode. Thank you for joining us on this global movement towards self-discovery and empowerment, which equals true liberation and freedom. Uh, any closing remarks, good brother?
We don't inherit the land from our ancestors; we borrow it from our children.
Mm.
And if I could, I'd rather have a billion heirs than be a billionaire.
My heart is smiling right now, bro. Like it's you interface with so many um others at your age, and um we realize where we dropped the ball, and I know for me personally, it hurts because it's like we dropped the ball. We can't sit there and say that our youth are bad or that our youth are uh, out of control without taking some kind of ownership on why that is occurring. You know what I'm saying? And so, um, having this exchange with you and others like you as that we did do something right. And we was with you when you was doing things with brother Greg Corbin, and they said, we had the whole harvest thing that we was doing, and with the youth poet actually really like got their start at the
Mhm.
harvest.
Mhm. The
And
circuit.
actually I think that's where we like I first met,
We
like
got
at
a,
the harvest.
we got a circuit, man. We got a circuit.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to um give you that heartfelt gratitude, um and that fuel that you've provided me and others, that we are going in the right direction, and that and our future is in good hands. And I'm grateful to have this exchange with you. I'm grateful to be working with you and um, further in solidifying this work and an advancement towards liberation and true freedom. Um, if you found this show, so thank you to our guests. Is there any money that's good for you to do a part two?
Yeah, we can do that offline. I got you.
Okay, cool. If you have any show topics, ideas, or resources to assist us on this mission, please email me at Farugh1973@yahoo.com. If you found value in this presentation, please give and or continue to support. No matter the amount, it's all tax deductible, and you see what we're doing. We're producing content, we're producing programs to empower our people. Thank you to all of our supporters and our sponsors. Again, this program has been brought to you by BMa'at Inc., which is my nonprofit. We are solely funded by your generosity and your contributions to support Cash App money sign BMa'at Inc. Urban Shamans, again, thank you for supporting this platform. And if you like programs like this, there's tons of other programming like this on this platform, and they can also use your support. Cash App money sign knowledge born Allah, and they also having a campaign 3K for 3K. Make sure you hit them up to continuously have programs like this and continue to find the diamonds in the rough um, to move forward on this mission to provide unbiased, objective conversations to where we are um, um, collecting, just getting building a coalition to African liberation. Thank you again, and again, um, remember to be my eye and become a master of life. We'll see you next Monday at 7 p.m. Peace and infinite blessings. Peace.